Y'all asked for it, so here it is, an update to my 2024 NFL Draft wide receiver rankings. And since this is such a good class, I'm going to go over my top 15 in the video, but stick with me until the end because I'll talk about some of the guys who just missed the list. But what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content as always. Let me know what you think in the comment section below where we have that nice, beautiful football discourse. Let's get into this sucker with number 15, Malachi Corley out of Western Kentucky. Almost said Michigan. Kentucky. Coming in at 5'11", 210 pounds. Kind of built like a running back and kind of moves like a running back. His presence as a ball carrier is just freaking sturdy. He's got 12 forced missed tackles this season. He had 40 last year, but let's just kind of get into him as a prospect. When he was initially recruited, he was a corner, but he played many positions in high school. When he arrived at Western Michigan in 2020, he switched from corner to receiver and didn't become like a consistent start for the squad until last year. He was part of the 2021 squad that had like Bailey Zappi and was it Jareth Stearns? But that also had was it Mitchell Tinsley? But that squad had a good amount of talent that where Bailey Zappi eventually set the touchdown record for most touchdowns in a season. He had 5 starts that year, but became the full-time starter last year and made first team All-Conference USA, and he's putting up great numbers thus far this season. And the dude is just a phenomenal athlete. Once he has the ball in his hands, like there is a stark difference between him as a ball carrier and him as like a route runner or just without the ball. Like there's more decisiveness. He displays those quicks, just good high-end stop-start ability, and he accelerates, man. Like all those things are present when the ball is in his hands, and you love his contact balance. Like it gives me Antonio Gibson vibes where it's like, okay, they moved him from a receiver to a running back, and I'm kind of thinking the same thing with Corley. I honestly think he ends up being a running back at the next level, but he's shown sure hands. This year the drop rate is up. Last year was 3%. This year it is 6%. So I mean, I feel like that just kind of like tells you, yeah, no, just make this dude a running back. But those are good drop rates, so not even bad. He's been exclusively used as a slot player. If you go back to last season, it was about 90% of his career, or 90% of his routes ran came from in the slot. This year, that number is down to 89%. So, like, this guy's unproven on the outside, unproven against press. I'm just saying, man, this guy, he looks like a running back. He's built like a running back. He carries the ball like a running back. He smells like a running back. I think he's a running back. But having a really good year there for Western Kentucky. But number 14 on this list is gonna be Tory Horton out of Colorado State, coming in at 6'2", 190. And this guy had an interesting path to Colorado State, kind of. He was formerly a 3-star recruit from the 2020 class. He is the youngest of 5 siblings. His older brother serves in the Army. His sister, Jeannie, plays volleyball overseas. And his older brother, Tyler, was a 2-time first-team All-Mountain West cornerback for Boise State. So that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Played football, basketball, baseball. Initially went to Nevada. Didn't really get many starts. I think through his first 2 seasons, he had 7 starts combined, and he decided to follow his former coach to Colorado State, Jay Norvell, and started all 12 games in 2022. Was first team All Mountain West, and he's going to do that again. He's putting up great numbers, almost at 700 yards. He's got 6 tutties. He's got the big game against Colorado, excuse me. And he also had a big game against, I don't know what this school is. Utah Tech College? I don't know. Something like that. He put up 3 touchdowns on the, I was about to say those bums, but I feel like that's a bit too harsh. But he's got a long frame, huge catch radius. He's a long strider, and he can create on longer routes. I like that he can play inside and he can play out. He's a very good route runner, knows how to attack leverage. He knows how to, he's got the speed to be able, or the good explosiveness to be able to close the cushion between him and corners, because like he wants to get physical, man. I like that about him. He wins at the stem of those routes. Very smooth mover too, changes direction pretty well, high points the football incredibly well, especially on the short to intermediate routes. Really flashes that like possession receiver. This year, I mean, I think it's more so the contested catches down the field aren't really falling his way, but it kind of is what it is. I think the minute you get the ball in this cat's hands, like he can create, he's got a good sturdy frame and he can eat contact. He had 15 forced missed tackles last season. He's already matched that number this year on 58 receptions. So like he can be a guy that can consistently attack deep. It's just you kind of worry about the contested catch number. It's like, okay, you're gonna have to probably rely a bit on getting that separation because he is a long strider. At that, I don't think he's got like elite speed and quicks. So I don't know. I kind of like him on the short to intermediate, and then be able to, like, again, a guy that could be a chain mover and a guy that can create after the catch. Like, I wouldn't mind if he put a little bit more muscle on, just a little bit. It is something to something I felt like pointing out, because like honestly, that's 6'2", 190. Again, kind of nitpicking here. The receiving position's getting smaller, but typically with smaller receivers, you want that speed. I think he needs that size. So maybe getting to 200 would be really nice for him. But again, it's not even a big problem with him. I got a 3rd round grade on him. This is a really good receiving class. It's really hard to listen. I know you love the NFL draft as much as I do, and you're gonna want a nice hefty watch list of players during this college football season. Well, go ahead, check out my draft guide. You can purchase it for only $30 by Venmoing or PayPaling me. Links in the description. It's a one-time payment and you get it for this whole draft cycle and forever and always. Technically, it's a Google spreadsheet. So send me your email when you send the payment. I'll get you hooked up. You will see my current prospect rankings and big board, my full evals. And guess what? It updates throughout the whole draft cycle. So it's a great purchase and it's a great way to support the channel. It's really hard to rank these guys in general, but let's go ahead to number 13 being Antwane Juice Wells out of South Carolina. Yeah, so he's hurt this year. Let's kind of just start with that. He was dealing with a foot injury during the off season, where I think he had surgery to have some screws put into his foot, maybe in the toe region. And he kind of, in the North Carolina game, it aggravated him where he had to miss much of the game, which was a real shame, but that kind of put Xavier Legette on the map. But he tried to return for the next couple of weeks, and he just didn't feel the same. So now he's just out with injury, nursing that foot, hoping to get back to full speed. Then again, South Carolina ain't doing much this year right now. I think they're like 2-5, maybe 2-4, something like that. But didn't at least get a touchdown against Georgia. That looked great. But I mean, then quickly he was like, dude, my foot's bothering me, man. I can't get this sucker healthy. So that is something to know. If you're not familiar, like, Juice Wells has had a very interesting path to South Carolina. So Cat's, 6'1", 208, solid size. But he was initially a 0-star recruit from the 2019 class. Like, it's just he didn't have the grades that made him eligible to play D1 football. So he goes to Fort Union in Virginia, didn't record any stats there, and then ended up transferring to James Madison, where quickly in the shortened season, he ended up getting 4 starts out of the all 8 games that they played there. He was named to the FCS freshman All-American team. And then in 2021, started all 14 games for JMU and set single season receiving records for yards, receptions, touchdowns. He was a FCS second team All-American. And he transfers to South Carolina last season, right? And has a very great season. Ended up making second team All SEC, almost had over 1,000 yards, had 6 touchdowns. And I mean, right now, a lot of the tape we're pulling is going to be last year when he was fully healthy. And I don't think necessarily if he ends up missing the rest of the season, that'll hurt him too much. I think he could make up a lot of that ground in a all-star circuit and in the combine where he tests out. Because I think when you look at him, you see a good, explosive athlete who knows how to stay low when beginning engagement. He accelerates really well out of his breaks, shows good footwork when working in one-on-one situations. I think he tracks the ball well. I think he's really good at the catch point. He had 2.8% drop rate last season. That was on 95% of catchable targets. This year, I mean, he has 1 drop, but I mean, he hasn't played healthy, you know, so it's like 1 drop out of 5. Again, we can't really take anything from this season. But what I like about him most is how shifty he is with the ball in his hands. He's got a good, like, he runs low, so he's running with a lower center of gravity, and it just makes him contact relatively well. Like, he had 19 forced missed tackles last season. Of course, everything with the foot's going to need to be checked on. I will say not the most nuanced route runner yet. Still learning how to use his hands during the route. Still understanding how to get leverage consistently. So those are some of the things I'd hope he might have work out this year. I think he is more explosive than fast. He gets the top speed pretty quickly, but I don't think like his launch speed is like amazing. I think it's fine. So probably, I mean, and honestly, I think you probably rather a guy who's explosive than just like fast. So I don't know. I still love him. I don't have the heart to like drop him a ton because I mean, what can you do when you're banged up, you know? Anywho, let's go ahead. Talk about number 13, 14. Where are we at? No, we're on number 12. It is Jalen Polk out of Washington. Having a great season. Almost 600 yards, 5 tutties. Had a solid game against Oregon. Had that banger against Cal. And yeah, no, man, Washington's got some receivers. They really do. We'll talk about another one much later on the list. But Polk was formerly a 4-star recruit out of the 2020 class. He was on his way to a historic season for Ludkin High School, but had his year cut short by a shoulder injury. He's coming in at 6'2", 204 pounds. Initially was at Texas Tech for a season where he had 7 starts, but he decided to transfer at the end of the year to Washington, where in 2021 he played in the season opener. As a matter of fact, he started the season opener, but would miss the next 9 games because of a dislocated clavicle. He would play in week 12 against Colorado and then start in the season finale against Washington State. Last year, he honestly, dude, played well. He had over almost 700 yards receiving in 13 games with 8 starts. But again, you're getting your stats dispersed among this 3-headed monster with McMillan and Odunze. But man, this dude is really good. Like he's first off jacked, looking good, toned up. Just big, meaty boy. Love to see it. He won't be bodied during a route. He shows that toughness after the catch. He just runs low, eats contact. He can explode off the line of scrimmage and out of his breaks. He's very deceptive with his speed, knows how to switch gears and fluctuate that speed well. And every year he has improved as a contested catch target. Last year he was at 53.3%. This year he's at 85.7%. You'll love to see it. Hasn't had a drop yet this season after having 3 drops last year. And I like that he has the flexibility to work inside and out. This year he's been 55% on the outside, 45% on the inside. Year before that though, it was like 60-40 ratio there. So a guy that knows how to do both, and I love that. I really, really do. I will say sometimes he opts to catch with his body more times than not, despite being really good at high point of the football. I don't think he has the most natural ball skills, but he's got ball skills. So I'd like to see him go to it a little bit more. This isn't the most twitched up athlete, nor would I say he has like blazing speed, but he creates separation with good route running and, again, knowing how to fluctuate his speed during the route. Not really a make you miss guy. It's more so, hey, I can kind of absorb contact, so come get it. Does he have any? I don't think he has any. Okay, he's got 6 forced missed tackles this year. That's pretty darn good. He had none last year on 41 receptions. So that was a wee bit surprising, but very good prospect here. Coming at number 11, Johnny Wilson out of Florida State. This might shock some people. Maybe it doesn't. But the dude is 6'7", 237. Yeah, he's big. He's big. He's a former 4-star recruit from the 2020 class. Initially spent 2 years at Arizona State and decided to transfer looking for more playing time. And he found it at Florida State. Started all 13 games last season. Was a second team all ACC. He started 5 games thus far. This season does have a little over 350 yards, 2 tutties. And the dude is huge. That's the first thing anyone and everyone is going to bring up. He is big. He has the size that is just hard to bring down. He had 9 forced missed tackles last year. This year on 20 receptions, he's got 3 forced missed tackles. It's just hard size to bring down. He's got this garage door catch radius that's just a quarterback's best friend. Kind of wish he was better at the contested catch, given how big and how wide the catch radius is. But I mean, I guess it kind of is what it is. I mean, at his size, he's a plus blocker. Good, he should be. So you could probably move him around, motion him. You could get creative with him, not just in the passing game, but also in the receiving game. And he gets in the corner's face so quick. Close that cushion. He'll stack them. And he displays pretty loose hips to explode out of his breaks. But I'm pretty sure he's like a one-move guy, in my opinion. He isn't a guy that I think has the most natural separation. Like, he relies really on stacking corners at the top of routes. Very much a one-cut guy. Anything more complicated, I think, could be a bit clunky for him. But, I mean, he doesn't need that to be successful at the NFL. Like, you can be that one-cut guy on whether, like, I mean, there's a whole route tree to these, like, one-cuts, you know? So, I'm not too worried about that. He has struggled with drops throughout his career. He had a drop rate last season of 12.2. This season is at 9.1. Granted, 2 of those drops came in the opener against LSU. Hasn't dropped the ball since, but still, he has a history of not having the most consistent ball skills. I feel like, again, a guy that has this long catch radius, I'd like to see him use it more. I like to see him go and high point the football a little bit more. But a lot of people like him. I'm just not in love with him like some people are. But it is what it is. Let's go ahead and get to the top 10 in this list. Starting with Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU. Man, oh man, I was pleasantly surprised when watching Thomas, and I'll tell you, he gives me Troy Franklin vibes. So he's coming in at 6'4", 205, former 4-star recruit from the 2021 class, played basketball while he was in high school as well. He was like a legit recruit as a basketball player, scored more than 1,000 points in 3 seasons. Decided to stick with football, goes to LSU, and as a freshman, started 9 games. Then he started 6 last year, and now he has been playing majority on the outside there, along with Malik Nabers. Foreman, probably one of the scariest wide receiver duos in all of football. I mean, Ohio State's got a nice duo. Florida State's got a nice duo. LSU's got a really nice duo here. Like Thomas, he's a long, tall receiver with big hands. You see that basketball background with them. When he like goes up to get the football, he's got legit bunnies in that regard. He's been very good at the contested catch. Like he has above the rim potential. Go figure. I gotta use a basketball analogy there, but 71.4% contested catch rate this year. You'll love to see it. He just plays above the rim, man. He is a very deadly vertical threat because of that. Like he is honestly a pretty solid athlete as well. I love the stop-start ability. It really allows him to get separation on routes, and honestly, he's only going to get better as a route runner with time. Again, and this is where like I kind of draw those comparisons to Troy Franklin. Troy Franklin, another guy who's got a very similar skill set. Got the quick feet, the nimble feet. He's got good speed to where like once he learns how to actually like once he becomes more nuanced as a route runner, he's going to be this complete threat at the next level. Love this dude. I love how quickly he turns up field once he gets the football. He runs low. The frame, he's got a frame that can absorb contact. Some of the things, I guess the cons of Thomas, we could talk about. Okay, yeah, not complete as a route runner yet, but that's fine. Does need to add maybe a little bit more mass just so he can consistently get off a press at the next level and just continue to be more dangerous at the contested catch point. Doesn't always high point the football and will sometimes let the football just kind of come to him. Like he's shown some inconsistencies with his hands in the past. If we go back to like, again, this guy's been, he has started 6 or more games since arriving here at LSU. Go back to his freshman year, 15.8 drop rate. Last season, 8.8 drop rate. And this year, 4.9. So it's solid, but still, I think he's an ascendant prospect. It wouldn't surprise me if he decides to return, because then he's probably in the first round area, because then you're projecting him to take another leap. So I was really thoroughly enjoyed watching Brian Thomas. And then at number 8, right? No, number 9, we got Xavier Worthy out of Texas. This may shock some people, and I get it. I get that he's going to be high on some people's list just because he's got speed for days. But for me, you can't be just a one-trick guy in that regard. And I have some legit concerns when it comes to Xavier Worthy's overall game. Like you look at the size, 6'1", 172. So probably needs to add more muscle, probably needs to add more mass to his frame. He did put on 8 pounds coming into this season, but he's still just too light. Like he looks overmatched when engaging contact, and like when he takes on hits, they can be scary. Like he looks like sometimes like he's gonna be hurt. Like he gets trucked that hard. There's a ton of puzzling drops on his tape. There truly are, to be fair. They haven't been as apparent the last, say, 3 weeks. But still, there'll be times, and it's not like focus drops. It's just like, I don't know. I just don't know. It hits his hands. He's just like, oh, didn't catch it. Well, okay. To be fair, a large majority of his drops last season were focus drops. So I think, those are very fixable. Also, last season, his forced missed tackles significantly went down. I mean, if you look at it this year, that number at least is up. So you feel a little bit better that he's starting to be more of the guy that we thought he was coming into last season. So I'm glad to see the forced missed tackle numbers up. just in general, he is very much a make you miss guy. He's got game breaking speed. Like, he is fast. He plays fast, whether he's a route running or whether he's carrying the rock as a receiver, a running back, a return man. He has just got that fly by you speed. Very quick feet, great body control. Like, every route he runs is crisp. He does a great job selling. You love the stop-start ability. You love the change of direction. Good hops too. And a dude that has played primarily on the outside. Now, granted, you're not going to see all this press against the Big 12. And it kind of is what it is. But to be fair, like, he had a very solid game against Alabama, where majority of the time he was on the outside. So it looks like, I think for him, the numbers will be better this year than they were last, or at least they're trending that way. But for me, I get it, game breaking speed, but I'd rather take a shot on that maybe early round 2 rather than maybe somewhere in the first. I get why I get why people have him in the first, though. I get it. I understand it. At number 8, I got another Xavier Legette out of South Carolina. I mentioned him earlier that after Juice went down, Legette emerged. If you were with me during the North Carolina, South Carolina watch along, I was like, who is this man? I'm adding him to my watch list. Because I was thoroughly impressed. Because for one, he's a big boy coming in at 6'3", 227. And he moves so freaking well. Truly does. Like, he's such a smooth mover. And he's got actually really good explosiveness. I think he was clocked as one of the fastest ball carriers this season. Like, that frame, that type of speed, it's just rare. And I get it, man. The dude's got long strides. He just flies. And you know what? It's not a situation where you look at that size, he's like, okay, he's all bark, no bite. You know, he's just going to try to fly by me. That speed. But no, man, this dude plays strong. He plays physical, whether he's jumping up for the ball or eating contact as a ball carrier or even having to get into the face of defenders as a blocker. Like, he's so good at that. He has these large hands, big catch radius. Has been the most sure target for Spencer Rattler this season. No drops on the year. 72.7 contested catch rate. You love that. And he's a better route runner than you would expect. Like, he does a good job of closing that cushion. He understands how to leverage defenders. He uses his body really well to box those guys out and create windows for his quarterback. Now, I will say this. While I say he's a smooth mover, it does take him time to kind of build up to that long speed. And I wouldn't say he's incredibly creative after the catch. He just kind of eats contact. But to be fair, that's all he really needs to be. He's an impressive specimen who is having a career year because, for one, he was either buried on the depth chart or dealt with injury. Like, there was a point, when was it? I think it was in 2021 where he had 4 starts, missed 2 games because of he was recovering from a motorcycle accident. He returned early and he was basically taping himself up because he still had like open wounds from the accident and playing through those. So like, this guy's got grit. Golly, I love me Xavier Legette. I really, really do. And I think his draft stock is just going to the moon. Yeah, buddy. Number 7, I have Troy Franklin out of Oregon coming in at 6'3", 187, former 4-star recruit from the 2021 class. He played in all 14 games with 4 starts as a freshman. And then last season, he started in all 13 games, made second team all Pac-12, and he's probably going to make first team this season with almost 700 yards and 8 tutties. He is very well put together as a route runner. Like, he uses his length well. He's got quick feet. He's got a good ability to get off the line of scrimmage, displays great understanding of how to work leverage versus corners, and he's just been a deadly red zone threat. You go back to last year, 6 TDs in the red zone for Franklin. He's got strong and sure hands. To be fair, the drops have been a little bit more so there this year. But I mean, you watch his ball skills, you watch the competitiveness he goes up to get the football. So I don't worry too much. I just feel like that they're high this year. It'll probably go back to me and low next year if he decides to stay another year at Oregon. He is a true junior. He's shown really good creativity as a ball carrier and the ability to gain yards after the catch. Last year, he had 13 forced missed tackles. This year, he's got 8 on 40 receptions, so he's doing a great job at that. Do want him to still put more mass on his frame. He is a bit thin. He isn't the greatest run blocker and just kind of lacks that physicality when in those engagements. And you also sometimes see that against press. I will say that he is still, again, I said this with Brian Thomas. Franklin's still learning to be a more nuanced route runner. I think there's some times where he just gets too fancy, tries to do too much, and his routes just get too long, are just too drawn out. And that'll just ruin the timing of plays and throws for your quarterback. But man, Franklin, man, I got him as a fringe first rounder at this point. He's having a great year. Then at number 6, I got A.D. Mitchell out of Texas, but not initially at Texas, coming in at 6'4", 196 initially. He was a freshman for Georgia, where he had 12 starts as a freshman, but I think his best games came in 2022, where he had 6 starts, did miss 9 games because of a high ankle sprain, but when he got to that playoff, the dude was a playmaker for Stetson Bennett and company. So decides to transfer to Texas after the season, and he's had a really good year, man. Really has 4 tutties. He had the big game against Bama where he had 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. The dude is tall. He has a good catch radius, quick feet, gets moving quickly, can flat out fly by defenders, and he is legitimately that vertical threat, man, that he will make you fear him. He will make you fear him, and you will be scared of getting beat over the top. Does a good job getting off a press, whether it's with his hands or the shimmy and shake moves. Runs low as a route runner. Does a good job at keeping himself clean throughout the route and through contact. And the dude, again, great vertical ability. The production's coming along. That was one of my biggest concerns with him coming into the year. I wanted to see it before I believe it, and now I'm starting to believe it, man. I got him as a back end of the first round guy. He's putting on a great season. Number 5, I got Egbuka out of Ohio State. Got a top 20 grade on him. He was out banged up last week against Indiana. Should be back though against Penn State, and I hope so, because a good Penn State defense. I'm kind of curious to see how he does. But former 5-star recruit from the 2021 class. He played wide receiver, defensive back, and returner in high school. He was Washington's Gatorade Player of the Year his junior year, and he didn't play his senior year because they moved it from the fall to the spring because of the Rona. So instead, he just enrolled early at Ohio State. Did play baseball in high school, and kind of weird fact here is he was the national champ at MLB's pitch hit run competition for 7 and 8 year olds back in 2011. Wild. But he's been great, man. Last year he got to be a full-time starter, made second team All Big Ten. He's a full-time starter here for the Buckeyes, mainly playing in the slot, and that's why I kind of think he might be an elite level slot receiver at the next level, because he's a great athlete. I love his feet. I love the short area quicks, the change of direction, and it doesn't surprise me that he's been used as a returner, because he legit has the ability to make people miss. Once he gets moving, he's just so quick, lightning fast, very sharp route runner. I think one of the best route runners in this draft. Knows how to leverage corners, knows how to fluctuate his speeds, switch up the gears there. He just knows how to get open for his quarterback. Already got 6 missed tackles this season too on only 22 receptions. You love to see it, because one of the things I wanted to see him get better at was what he can do after the catch. And I mean, honestly, I think he's done a solid job of that. I really do. He's just a good receiver, like a really good receiver. And I just think he's going to end up pigeonholed in the slot. That's going to hurt his stock a little bit. And like, he just doesn't have those wins on the outside that makes you trust him on the outside. So like Egbuka, great prospect, top 20. I'm not going to really rag on him or anything. I think he's one of the more complete guys in this class. Number 4, I got Malik Nabers out of LSU. We're getting real close here. I got a top 10 grade on him, and I got a top 10 grade on the next 2 guys as well. Malik Nabers, former 4-star recruit from the 2021 class, coming in at 6 foot 200 pounds, played 3 seasons at a high school in Lafayette. I'm just looking at it where I'm just like, it looks like Kamoo, but I'm not going to pronounce it. Anywho, he transfers to Southside. There's a school I can pronounce. His senior year, but he was denied eligibility to play for Southside. Instead, he played basketball and track there, but I mean, still was a highly recruited fellow. Goes to LSU, started 6 games his first season in the slot. Then last year, he started 11 games with only his first game being played mainly in the slot. And this guy, he's shown inside-outside versatility. I think he could do both and be a-okay. I think he's going to be one of the fastest players in this class. He's got like legit explosiveness to him. It's like he's playing in fast forward. He's just a really good athlete. So smooth out of his breaks and when changing direction. So hard to get a hand on as a ball carrier. Like he had, how many missed tackles last season? Yeah, 21 forced missed tackles on 72 receptions. He's got 15 on 52 this year. So good after the catch. And basically, like, however you want to rank, like, honestly, these top 4, that's right, I'm saying these top 4. I think I'm okay with it because they're all just so good. Like Malik Nabers, he does just so, he's so good at all levels of the field. And I mean, if I'm really going to bring up gripes with Malik Nabers, it's just, okay, he's not that good of a run blocker. Who cares? That's not why he's on the squad. He's not the most crisp route runner. I don't care. The dude can win at every level. Like, if he needs to be a more nuanced and complex route runner, then you could work that in time. He's a weapon right now, man. The dude is just phenomenal. Like, it's really hard to nitpick between these top 4 guys. At number 3, I got Odunze out of Washington. He's having a big year himself, over 700 yards and 6 touchdowns. Former 4-star recruit out of the 2020 class, coming in at 6'3", 215 pounds. Primarily played receiver and returner in high school. He was also a decorated sprinter on the track team, winning state titles in the 200 meters and the 4x100 relay. Only had 1 start 2020. It was a shortened season. Don't really care about it. 7 starts in 2021, 8 starts last year, where he still ended up being a first team all Pac-12. Did play in 12 games, missed 1 game because it was like a precautionary for an injury. Like, hey, you're not 100% right now. We probably don't need you against Portland State, so get healthy. So don't really care too much about that. It's played every game this year. His size, length, and speed is just a crazy combination. It's going to be hard for any defender to have to guard this man. We saw it literally in the Oregon game where he put up 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. Explosive off the line, explosive out of his breaks. Once he gets running, he's hard to stop. Actually, a pretty solid route runner. And I didn't really expect that going into his tape during the summer. Like, he's got some fluidity when running routes, so he's a bit more put together in that regard. And his physicality, he's playing up to his frame this season. It's so much better. Like, looking like the drop rate, it's about the same. It was 5.1 last year. It's 4.8. But his contested catch rate is so much better. He went from 25% last year on 4 of 16, basically, on contested catches. This year, he's 8 of 11. He's at 72.7%. Like, dog, I was like, okay, that's probably one of the biggest gripes I have against Odunze. And he was like, cool. Took care of it. Like, he's just so much more physical at the catch point. He isn't, despite that, like, size and the size and speed combination, he's not like wonderful after the catch. He's more, hey, I'm really fast, I'm gonna just try to fly by you. But he's got the build that could eat a bit more coverage or a bit more contact. Regardless, another top 10 prospect. Let's go to number 2. In Keon Coleman out of Florida State. What an interesting road it's been for our boy Keon Coleman, coming in at 6'4", 215. Another alpha receiver here. A former 4-star recruit from the 2021 class, played receiver and defensive back in high school, also ran track and field, and played basketball where he averaged 26 points per game. My dude. Whew. He goes to Michigan State, played 10 games mainly as a special teamer his freshman year. He also played in 6 games for the basketball team. I think he quit the basketball team after that to focus more on football. Started all 12 games last season, led the Spartans in receptions, yards, and touchdowns, made 3rd team All Big Ten, but decided to transfer to Florida State. Florida State had a very nice haul when it came to this transfer portal. Coleman, man, this dude's got an elite blend of size, speed, and strength. He moves so well at his size. He can create separation with these long strides. He makes defenders miss after the catch. He had 9 forced missed tackles last year. He's got that number at 6, and that's only on 29 receptions. Gotta love it. He's got great hands, right? No drop thus far this season. The contested catch rate isn't as good as it was last year, but I think that's fine. Kind of nitpicking a little bit in that regard. As a route runner, doesn't really have the shimmy or shake. He tends to create separation based on just, hey, I'm physically gifted and I'm going to use my hands really, really well. And he does, man. Like, he's got quick feet. So, like, I think he can be more precise and crisp as a route runner, but that could come in time. He hasn't been flagged a ton over his career, but he can sometimes get flagged for that offensive pass interference, so be on the look for that. Already kind of had a circus catch this past week against, Syracuse they were taking on. Keon Coleman, he is at Alpha X. Yeah, we're talking about all these guys in the top 10. Let's just go over number 1 real quick in Marvin Harrison Jr. Yes, he is number 1 for me. He's number 1 probably for a heck lot of people. Former 4-star recruit out of the 2021 class, coming in at 6'4", 205. He is the son of former Colts legend and Hall of Famer Marvin Harrison. I know you probably couldn't put 2 and 2 together there. Did play basketball during high school, but ended up stopped playing going into his junior year to solely focus on football. I think it's kind of funny that his high school quarterback is now his quarterback at Ohio State in Kyle McCord. Yeah, man, this dude's been a stud since last season, man. Because like 2021, he didn't really get an opportunity to play. He was behind Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. But last season, he got that taste, and he was like, "Yep, I'm a first-team All-American now." Legitimately feels like the best player on the field every snap. His production was amazing last year. It's pretty solid this year through 6 games. He's averaging over 100 yards and almost a touchdown every game. So you love to see that. One of the best route runners in this class. I think a lot of that goes on Hardline as the wide receiver coach there at Ohio State. Like, this guy's very complete when it comes to route runner, when it comes to understanding how to work and use leverage as a pass catcher, his ability to go up and get the ball, and even down to being a very good run blocker. He ticks off a lot of boxes. Like, if we are going to nitpick here, then it's like, okay, doesn't have like, he's probably not a 4-3 guy. Really care? Do you really care if he just ends up not being a 4-3 guy? I don't think you do. The guy is that good. But let's talk about some of the guys real quick who just missed the list. I do want to give a shout out to Lad McConkey, someone who has been banged up this season. And I had him at 16, thought about putting him in here to feature him in my receiving list, but I think Corley's just kind of had the big year. He has been back. Like, I feel like they've had him on a pitch count, but he played really well against Vandy. So I'm excited to see more from him. A guy that still feels like he's trying to get healthy. But yeah, gotta give a shout out to Lad McConkey. There's Jacob Cowan out of Arizona. Just a yak weapon. Like, he's probably a slot just because of the size at 5'11", 175. But dude is a legit yak weapon. Jalen McMillan, I don't exactly love McMillan, but I think he could be a really good like slot player, like vertical slot player. And that kind of like wraps up like my top slot guys. I know a lot of people want to know about Roman Wilson, and I'm just not that high on him compared to the general crowd. Like, I see him more as a early to mid day 3 player. Like, I think he's just like, he is a slot only to me, and he is probably a guy that's like a vertical slot player, but I'm just not going to be as high on him as the general community. Someone who literally got like, okay, let's talk about a couple of these guys that got edged out of the list. Like, there's Trey Harris from Ole Miss, where I really love him as a movable weapon, but been a little banged up this year. I think he's probably going to have a really good all-star circuit. He was great at Louisiana Tech. Devontae Walker, because the NCAA is stupid and didn't give him eligibility till a couple of weeks ago. I'm glad he had that big game against the Hurricanes. Actually, I'm not glad that happened because I'm a Hurricanes fan, and it sucked. It hurt, and it sucked. But he got to showcase what he can do. So, like, going forward, man, watch out for him. There's Jamari Thrash, who I've been on the bandwagon of since week 1 or week 0. Whenever they faced Georgia Tech, I was like, yo, watch out for this guy. This guy's got next level speed. It's just, this is such a freaking good wide receiver class. You're not going to get all these names in there. And I mean, there's still guys I've yet to like truly watch and put down a what do you call it? A eval for. Like, you look at you look at the USC receivers like Brendan Rice, Jerry Rice's son. I'm hearing good things about, and Taj Washington. However, his size kind of sucks. Like, there's a ton of guys I've yet to get to. There's Elijah Badger out of Arizona State, who I hear is having a really good year, and I need to just go back and watch his tape. So it's like, yeah, no, I mean, this looks like it's gonna be a really good class. So let's have fun with it. Let me know who are some of the guys that you thought should have been on the list, or maybe some of the guys you want to give a shout out to. That's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing. And as always, until next time, be easy, my friends. Later.